Ja, naar Paraguay komen met de droom een stuk grond te hebben, het autonome bestaan. Wat komt er allemaal bij kijken? Nou, een van de eerste dingen die toch wel belangrijk is een goede waterput hebben. Om zo het juiste water te kunnen gebruiken. Dus niet heel veel regulering om. En je zou kunnen denken, ik sla gewoon even een gat en dan heb ik water. Maar ja, I'll switch to English because we have an engineer that is actually doing this professionally in Paraguay, digging wells, and she will explain. This is Marie. Marie is from Sweden originally. She came with her family to Paraguay, and she will explain us in a webinar what's all behind the engineering side of digging a proper well. Marie, welcome and thank you for reaching out.
Thank you very much, Lester, for having me. This is very exciting. So, yes, as I said, I came to Paraguay a year ago with my family. I'm an engineer. I studied in Sweden and France, physics engineering. Um, and since a couple of years, I'm in the water business and I love it.
Well, you've prepared a presentation for us, so let's get this thing going. You can share your screen and we can start with the presentation.
All right. Great. So then I will tell you about my water journey from Europe to Paraguay. So how did I land here? For me, freedom is probably the most important thing in life. And I got aware of that a couple of years ago, like many of us. So that is the main reason why it was impossible for us, me and my husband and our two daughters, they're twins, 7 years old. We couldn't stay in Europe anymore. We used to live in France, southwestern France. It was a nice place, but I think most of your listeners, viewers, well, have felt that themselves. So we were looking for where we could get away, where we could move away from France, away from Europe. And while we were thinking about where we could go, where could be a really free country, I got an inquiry through my French primary water website from a French family living in Paraguay. So then I thought, where is Paraguay? And I saw it on the map for the first time in my life. And a couple of weeks later, I had done some research, looking at videos on Paraguay. And me and my husband, we knew that Paraguay was the place where we were gonna emigrate. So we had never been to visit. We wanted to, but then we thought, no, let's just do it. We know in our hearts that this is the right place to be. So we booked plane tickets for the four of us. And 1st of July, 2024, we left the house. Then I had 3 water surveys during 2 weeks. And on July 16th, after 2 very intense weeks, we got on the plane in Madrid. And the next day, we landed in Paraguay. Very excited to see what
Indeed.
our new home country would be like. So it was actually primary water that brought me to Paraguay. So this, what is primary water? It's a whole new water paradigm, and it fits perfectly into the freedom we were looking for. Because I like to say that primary water is like breast milk. The more you give, the more you have.
So
In
in
the
short,
sense
what what
that,
what is primary water? Just in one sentence, then. I mean, it's a new paradigm, okay?
yeah,
Tell me.
you can say that it's new water.
Mhm.
It's water that has not been in touch with the surface. So what you learn in school is the secondary water cycle, which is the atmospheric water cycle, is also another name for it. So that is when there is rainwater precipitating down, you use it, you consume it, and then to the toilet, things are flushed out, or you water your plants and it gets into the soil again. It infiltrates the ground, and then it will stay in the shallow aquifers, and through that it will go up through the
What's the aquifers?
trees. It's a water reservoir, but
Okay.
very often we picture that as a basin, like a bathtub. That's not what it is. It's actually more like a sponge. You can imagine a sponge. So it will fill with water when it has rained, but in times of drought, it will be dry. So there will be nothing in it. And then there are the deep aquifers, but we actually don't talk much about aquifers. There is a deep water, or we can say deep within the mantle. It's about several kilometers deep or several 100 kilometers deep. Water is actually produced from rocks. And there are several physiochemical processes with which water is produced constantly in the depth of the earth. So it is a renewable resource, and we will never run out of water.
So this is what you mean with the paradigm shift in this thinking, because nowadays there's all agendas, water crisis, water shortages, even companies or governments stating that they want to tax consumption of water because how dare you to use it. But with your, if correct me if I'm wrong, this primary water a paradigm, you're saying there's abundancy in the mantle, in like the kernel of the core of the globe, reproducing, just like there's also a paradigm shift about the oil, like it's not fossil fuels, it's actually being regenerated. I mean, the idea of this.
Yes, yes.
So how would it be triggered then that it will be regenerated?
Sorry?
How would it be triggered that it will start to regenerate and not overproduce the water?
Not over. You mean how can it be that the earth doesn't produce too much water?
Yeah, exactly. How does it stay in a form of equilibrium?
Okay. I don't know that exactly, but what I do know is that, for instance, when you drill a well, you actually have to pump out water in order for more water to come. And I find that extremely interesting because only that goes against the scarcity paradigm.
Yeah.
And there are cases where they have drilled a deep well of, I think it was about 150 meters deep. This was in the United States. And when they started pumping out water from that well, the neighbors got more water in their wells. So instead of, I mean, European governments would say that there is a risk that if you drill a well next to your neighbor's well, you will steal his water. But in this case, because you started pumping out water here, you put something in movement in the underground. And through that, your neighbor got more water than before. So you didn't steal anything. You actually, practically gave more water to your neighbor because you also pumped out water on your.
It's basically asking for it, just like with the breast milk, that the baby starts to ask for more, it will produce more and it will get more. Interesting.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That's how it is when you act with life and not against it. Yeah, so that's the new water paradigm. I could talk for hours about it, but maybe we should go to the next slide. What do you think?
Yeah, well, one of the last points is it's possible to have pure water even when the surface is polluted. That's a interesting point you're stating there on the slide. What does that mean?
Yes, absolutely. Because since we are targeting structures which are underneath the surface aquifer, meaning that we in the imagery that we create while we go on surveys to look for what is the best drill point, we see the shallow aquifers. So we see on those images where the where water reservoirs, or where there is water that comes from the surface. So in the first band of water or aquifers that we see, that is, we know from experience that it will be filled with water that comes from the surface. And in most places, it will be contaminated. If it's not yet, there is a risk for contamination through the atmosphere, or if an animal has died, or pesticides, etc. What we are interested in is the structures that are beneath those. So we can see if a structure is too shallow, or if it's linked to a very shallow structure, we will or I will recommend the client to drill at another spot where I see that it is disconnected to the surface and it has deep connectivity. So we are able to see that if you drill, 100 meters over there, you will have better chances of getting water that comes from deep down in your underground and not from the surface.
Interesting.
And that's so those structures are much more likely to contain primary water, new water, uncontaminated water. Okay.
Yes.
So, all right, here. So the water situation in Paraguay is very good, but there is a myth and there is a reality. And when you talk to most people, you will hear that Paraguay is located on the world's largest aquifer. Wherever you drill, you will get good water. But once you're in the business and you start talking to drillers, they tell you another picture. So here I quoted one driller I worked with. He said, "Yesterday I drilled a dry well and it makes me feel so bad. Can you show me where I should drill to get water?" Because the drillers here, when they go out on a job, they really like what they do. I think most drillers in the whole world really love their work because it's hard work and they want to find water. But most of the times, the way it's done around the whole world is people want a well close to their house, so they will drill where they want the well to be, without having done the research to know, is this actually, geohydrologically speaking, a good place to drill? So what happens a lot in Paraguay is that there are lots of dry boreholes. And yeah, and I mean, you have to know in Paraguay, as in the rest of the world, where you ask the driller to drill the well. Otherwise, there are high chances here, as in all countries, to get a dry bore. So I just wanted to, put that out there because you hear that all the time. Wherever you drill in Paraguay, there is a well, but it's not true. It's not. There are dry bores here too. Luckily for me, otherwise I would run out of business. So how do you actually get your water well in Paraguay? First thing, know where to drill. That's my expertise. Locate the best spot to drill your well. Second step is have your well drilled and connected to your water supply. Third step, enjoy having your water. It's very simple. You don't need to ask for permission to drill a well in Paraguay.
Freedom.
So, yes, freedom. So how to plan the project? That's also where I come in, because I used to work as a project manager for large projects, and I really love project management. I love to plan, and it's really essential for any project to plan it well, anticipate what can happen, and avoid problems. So, planning the project is first knowing where the property is located, how big is the property, where would it be possible to drill a well, where has land been cleared so we can access the area where you want us to survey, what are your water needs, how much water do you need? And of course, I can help people make an estimation. Do you need water only for your family? Or do you need water for irrigation? Do you need water for, do you want to build a tourist place with 10 houses? Depending on what your target is, what your project is, it will, it will make a different target for the water well. And also I look at the water situation in the area, how deep are neighboring wells that give good water. So that's the planning of the project. And also very important, where is the septic tank? Because it's recommended to build, so septic tank is called Pozo Ciego. This slide is taken from a project I did recently. So Pozo Ciego is septic tank in Spanish, in Paraguay. So it's recommended to build, to drill a well no closer than 30 meters from a septic tank because of the risk of infiltrating water. So yeah, it's good to know all the information available before going out and surveying. So then you have the geohydrological survey done. And again, you should drill where the water is, not where you want it to be. So the first phase of the geohydrological survey is the wide area radiometrics. So radiometric, it's a scientific fancy word for measuring radiation. And we're interested in gamma radiation. So it's gamma radiometrics. And what happens with gamma radiation, the natural gamma radiation, is absorbed by water. So we look for the low values, which are represented here on the map in blue. And that's where there are high chances that there is water, large amount of water in the underground. So once we have identified where the low gamma radiation zones are, we trace acoustic resonance lines to see into the underground down to 400 meters depth. What do the structures look like on those, in those zones? So it's called RAP, resonance acoustic profiling. And here you can see, here we see it better without all the data points. So here in this project, we made line 1, found a nice structure. At that structure, we crossed with line 2. The structure was interesting. So the cross-section was confirmed. So we crossed again with line 3 to see, you know, maybe it was a bit off the cross-section that the most interesting structure was. So here I will just walk you through. It's a bit technical, but I'm sure some of you will enjoy it. So the first, what we call the baseline, the first RAP line, acoustic resonance line, we sample it down to 400 meters depth to see at what depth are the interesting structures. And here we saw that it was, so you can see on the x-axis is the distance on the ground. So we traced here, it was a 50 meters line with 5 meters spacing between sampling points, between data acquisition points, down to, so on the y-axis, you see the the depth. So it goes down to 400 meters depth. And we did another sampling data acquisition down to 200 meters depth, because the focal point is different, whether you sample with 3,600 hertz down to 400 meters or 7,200 hertz down to 200 meters. But both show the same area of interest, which is around 150 meters depth. So we also look at the gamma variation over that line. And what is interesting is where gamma varies strongly, the dips in gamma, so the gamma minima are really what is interesting. And when there is a gamma minimum over an interesting, an anomaly, we call these structures anomalies, that's where there is high likelihood to find water. So we have line 1. We find this interesting structure. So we did the processing, as I told you before, and then we did the same at another area of the property where we also had good gamma radiation data, and we found line 5. So this was at the end of the project. Line 5, very interesting structure here. These are it's the same data set, but 2 different color schemes. This one shows the gradient, the structural variation, and this one shows the gradients. So here you see that there is a very deep structure with deep connectivity reaching down below 250 meters depth. And it's something like 10 meters wide. So it's a very interesting structure. We cross it with line 6. And here, line 6, everything lightens up. So here we know this was the best place. This is the spot that we recommended for drilling at that project. So I show it here in the report with marca. It's the stake. Here's the stake. Here is where you should drill at this point here, because this is a really nice wide structure. And it's the cross-section of 2 lines. So two lines have confirmed that this point is really interesting. And when I find the winning points, I plant a stake into the ground, so no one has to go and look with a GPS device to look for the actual spot where they should drill. I plant a stake, and I mark the stake. Here it says line 5, so many meters, line 6, this data point. So you know exactly where the driller should position the drilling rig. So the next step after that is having the well drilled. So as I said, it's very important. We do pinpoint location of the best place to drill. So when the driller comes, he sees here, okay, here's the stake. He positions the hammer exactly over that spot at the property. And I like to be there when he does it.
Mhm.
And then we also offer drilling supervision services here in Paraguay. Because in Europe and in the United States, when the driller drills a well, he also documents the geology of the different depths that he drills through, because that gives information on how to construct the well if something goes bad afterwards. I mean, you gather as much information as you can from the well. That's standard, but not here. Unless you have someone doing it, the driller won't do it. And it's very unfortunate, because I get calls from lots of people who say they have a well, but for some reason it doesn't give as much water anymore, or it gives dirty water, or there is some problem. So of course I ask, what's the depth of your well? You know how it's tubed, etc. And very often they don't know anything. They don't even know how deep it is. They don't know the yield. They don't know if it's tubed. They don't know. Yeah, I mean, there is no information. So when me and my team go there and we do the well drilling supervision, we document the geology of every layer that has been drilled. We also measure the yield at different depths, because that's also very important. And it's also one of the reasons why I ask the clients beforehand, what is your target? How much water do you need? It's to avoid the situation that there is water, but the driller wants to drill deeper because, of course, they invoice according to drilling depth. And it happens pretty often that there is water. The driller thinks that it's not a lot of water, so let's drill deeper without asking the client. So when I'm on the drilling site, I ask regularly, so let's stop for 5 minutes. We measure the yield of the well. I ask the client, are you happy with this yield? It is enough. It's more than what you said that you need. Do you want to stop or do you want to continue? So this communication is very important, just for the client to be in charge of how deep the well is drilled.
Marie, just a question. On average, how deep do you usually go for a well here in Paraguay?
It will depend on the area, but I would say you should count with at least 100 meters.
How much? How many?
100.
100 meters. Okay.
100.
And is it then also that
how? Count with
yeah. Sorry.
I said you should count with at least that. Then it always depends. You can say that, but you know, if you make an estimation, how much do I need to budget for my well? Don't budget for less than 100 meters.
Yeah, so you pay per meter that it's been drilled. Yeah. Is it so that if you dig deeper, the deeper the well, the more water and the better, or is there like a limitation to this?
Not necessarily, because you can. Yeah, let me show you here. It was the next.
Oh, sorry.
Your question was an invitation to my. Excuse me. So here, I show what the actual drilling results were and how they show on the imagery that I made. So here, 86 meters, there was the first water. Here we measure the yield again. 132 meters, there were 3,000 liters per hour. So that was actually more than what the client needed. He said he needed 2,000 liters per hour. But he said, I want to drill deeper. Who knows, maybe I can start a water bottling company. Let's drill deeper. And we drilled, and at 159 meters, we measured again, 2,500 liters per hour. And then he said, oh, okay, maybe the water actually runs into, maybe we have drilled to a dry fissure, and the water runs in. The water that came out at 132 meters runs out from the well into a dry structure. It can happen. So I asked again, are you happy now, or do you want to take the risk? Maybe you will actually have less water, or you could have more water, but yeah, it's up to you. You have the water you need. What do we do? He said, no, I want to drill deeper. And also we saw here that the structure on the imagery, the structure is still there. So, I mean, there is chances of getting more water throughout all the structure. So 180 meters, it's this point here. It's very visible on this image, 9,000 liters per hour. So that was jackpot. Everyone was super happy, and we stopped. So yeah, that also answers your question. You don't, I mean, it's not just drill deeper and you will get more water. It really depends on where you drill. It really depends on where you drill. But it is true that if you take water from a deep structure, it will probably be purer than from a shallow structure, because here around 50 meters depth is what we call the shallow aquifer. And these structures are likely to be filled with water when it has rained. But if it's very dry, if it hasn't rained for several months, they will most likely be all dry.
And or contaminated, possibly with what's on the surface that gets drained into it.
Yes, that's very likely. Yeah, they could very well be contaminated. Yeah. So, okay. So next step of constructing your well is having the pump installed and connect your well to your water supply. So the pump, it looks like this. So it looks like a very long cylinder. So there is a motor and the pump on top of it, and it's connected to this typical PVC pipe. They sink it down into the well. It has to be really immersed into the water, and yeah, there you go. And here, this client could have pure, abundant water, and it was in a very short time from the time we went there to make the survey until he connected the water to his house. It took exactly 1 week, and it was super pure water, 15 ppm, 15 ppm.
What does it signify?
ppm, it's parts per million, so it's the mineralization of the water. How much minerals are there in the water?
Is that high? Is that low? I have no reference. Is it high or is it low?
Okay. It's extremely low. It's extremely low. Most bottled waters have, I think, around 100, or they can have up until 500 ppm, so parts per million. Some bottled waters are less mineralized, some are more mineralized, but less than 100 is very rare. And in Europe,
is it good to have less minerals, or do you need some essential minerals in the water?
I would say it really depends. It's it's like food. What food is good? It depends on who you are, how you live, what phase you're in your life. A very low mineralization, it will drain, it will purify your body. You know, if it is a high mineralization, you will get minerals. But I mean, you also get minerals from food you eat. If you eat good food, you get your minerals. I would say it's very individual. I don't really want to, I can't give advice on, is a low mineralization good for you, or should you go for a high mineralization? Again, I think it's like food. If you know how to listen to your body and what's good for you, you will feel that this water, it feels good to drink it. I want to drink it. No. That's what you need to know. But what's interesting in Paraguay is that I test water a lot. I often go out with my test kits, even to friends. They say they have a well, then most of the time I bring along my test kit to see. Yeah, I think it's interesting. And most of the time in Paraguay, the mineralization is extremely low. I was actually afraid that my TDS meter, so it's called totally dissolved solids, I thought it was broken first time I tested it here. So I did some mixture with, salts and stuff in a glass, tested it, and yeah, then the mineralization was really high. So it works.
In the way you're stating it, it is something to be positive about, I guess. Yeah, I guess low mineralization means that you have the freedom to add any minerals you want, and if it's already highly mineralized, you don't really have a choice to add it, or you have to do a whole process to get it lower. I think that's then the point you're making. So, on average speaking, I know it depends on the area. What's the quality like here in Paraguay for water? Because I have friends who have a well in Hohenau, and they let it be tested, and it got out as one of the best, top 5% or something of water in the whole world. Was interesting. What's your saying on this as an expert?
Right. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, as I said, the waters I've tested here, almost all have mineralizations under 100, and it's super low. Even 100 is low mineralization. It's very good, you know, for yeah, anyone can drink it. Babies can drink it. Pregnant women can drink it. I mean, yeah. Anyway, I think babies and pregnant women can drink what they know is good for them. So let's take that away. But yes, I confirm that's also my experience that water, at least in the south of Paraguay, is very pure. If it comes from a deep well, of course.
Do you have experience in the north? Because I see you particularly say about the south of Paraguay. Do you have experience with in the Chaco? I've been there a couple of weeks ago, and they have like dry season, and they try to find water there. Do you have any experience with it?
No, not yet. I'm waiting for a reply from. I made a proposal to a company in the Chaco just a week ago. I'm waiting for their response. I would love to go there and survey. What I hear from people who have land there and also from drillers is that they have uh, lots of problems with saltwater wells. And of course, it's a problem for people who want fresh water, and they turn out having salty water, and it's very, very salty. So extremely high mineralization. I guess maybe 1,000 ppm. I think it's in that order of magnitude. Yeah, so it's a very different situation there. And geologists talk about the Chaco Formation, which actually starts in Asunción. So from Asunción and going northwest, that is geologically, it counts to the Chaco Formation. So yeah, they have their specificities, but yeah, I would love to have some projects there and get my
It's
own.
elevated, right? It's a plate, and it's more elevated compared to Asunción.
I honestly I don't know about the elevation,
Yeah, I think so.
but it's another geolocation, which doesn't mean that you cannot find fresh water. I have had that experience myself, not in Paraguay, but in Portugal. I was serving in an area which was very close to the ocean, and most wells were salty. And the driller even told the owner of the land that you're crazy to have bought the land without having water, without already having a well, because you know he was very pessimistic. He said you're crazy to drill, you know, after you bought. I found two really good spots on the property, and they actually drilled both. It was about 200 meters apart, and both were with fresh water. Really good yield, was about 7,000 liters per hour, both, something like that, 6 or 8,000 liter per hour, and both were with fresh water. So yeah, that's what's also exciting with this primary water paradigm, that you see the importance of pinpoint locating the spot to drill. It's not because your neighbor has a well that has a certain water quality that you will have the same on your property. It can be very different. And a colleague who's in Italy, he's actually the one who taught me how to survey for water. He told me about recent water bottling plant in his area of Italy, where they had drilled 3 deep wells, and all 3 delivers good water, but all 3 have very different water quality, very different minerals. And it's in an area, it's like within, I think, 2 hectares. So very close wells, you know. So yeah, you know, with water, there are lots of surprises, many good surprises too. So did I have another slide? No. So, is it time for questions? Do you have questions, Lester?
No, I've already asked the questions during your presentation. Thank you for explaining this in a webinar. At first, when we met, I thought I was just a little bit naive in stating the obvious that you already countered. But yeah, you can just dig a well and you get water. No, it's actually more sophisticated, more complex than that. So I think this is really valuable for people to get to know the context of what you can do to dig a deep well. You can have a basic well, but then again, if there's no paperwork, if something goes wrong, you have no clue where to find and how to solve your problem. And this is where you come in with your company to help people dig in a properly way with all your European standards, European experience, and you as an engineer. So I found it really interesting, and it struck my mind. And I was like, yeah, let's do a presentation or let's do a video about it because it's just so interesting, so fascinating, especially how far the knowledge goes in terms of this primary water paradigm, that there's abundancy, that there's a reason why there's a artificial water crisis, and that do you need to have permissions in Europe to get a well. I actually know a person who's selling his house in Portugal. He bought the house a couple of years ago. He wanted to sell it, but he has a well on it and it wasn't registered. So now he's having all kinds of problems because he might got a illegal well that he didn't know about because it was already there when he bought it. So a lot of things happening in Europe.
Yeah.
So I
So
briefly saw in one of your slides the contact details. Marie, please, how can people get to contact you if they want to, if they bought a piece of land, a couple hectares, and they want to have the best water in town? All right, yeah, here's your email address, here's your number, here's your full name, there's even the website of your company. Great. Once again, I thank you very much. For the people that are seeing this video, you are living close by Villarrica, right? In the middle of the south of the country.
Yes, yeah. We just moved with my family from La Colmena to Planta Urbana, close to Villarrica.
Close on the Independencia side?
Yes, exactly. It's part of Colonia Independencia.
Great. La Colmena is a beautiful area. How were the wells there? Did you dig any?
Yes, close to there. 2 actually. Yeah, very good outcome.
Great. Well, do you have anything to add on to end the recording?
I'm at your service. I would be happy to help with your water projects. So yeah, just reach out and we can chat. We can talk about how I can help you. And as I told you, I love to do this job. So yeah, I'd be happy to get any call.
All right. Thank you again. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you for having me.